Hello guys, welcome to another Leetcode problem. Today we are going to solve problem 2482, difference between 1s and 0 in the rows and column. So we are given m by n matrix, which is called a grid, and then we have to create another matrix called diff, which is basically based on this formula. We have to come up with the diff. So if I look at this formula, we want to create a diff of ij, where I is 1's rows and 1's column minus 0's rows and j's column. So from this particular matrix, we have to reach to this particular difference matrix. So how do I calculate this difference matrix? Is based on basically this formula. So this formula is basically tells us for a given position, let's say this one at ij, let's say start with 0 and 0, you need to calculate how many ones are there in this grid row, and then you need to calculate how many ones are there in column for this particular. So that is going to be this one and this one, and then you calculate the formula. You put that value into the formula. So once is going to be, for example, in this one is going to be 2, and in this column is going to be 1. So I do plus, and then I have to subtract how many zeros we have and then how many zeros we have in the column. So in this row I have only 1 0, and then in this column we have how many 2 zeros, right? Oh sorry, so I'm going to put it 1 0 and then subtract 2 0. So this will become 2 plus 1 3 and then minus 3. So this will become 0. Similarly, we have to calculate for other positions of the matrix. For let's say another one more example, where for example this one, right? So we got 4 here. So how we got it? So in this particular uh, row and column, how many ones we have? So we have 2 ones. And then in this particular column, how many ones we have? We have 3. So that is going to be let me change this, 2 plus we have 3, and then how many zeros we have? We have only 1 0, and then in the column we don't have any 0, right? There is no 0, so that is 0. So total 3 plus 2 is 5 minus 1 is equals to 4. So this is what we got for here. Similar way we have all other portion needs to be calculated. So how can you solve this problem? What's the logic? Maybe we can think, okay, simply I can just do a 2 for loop, for one for loop for row and one for column, correct? And then I can iterate on this row and then column, and then for each row and column I can find out how many ones are there and how many zeros are there. I can keep the track of values, and then once we know this ones and zeros value, then I can again have another for loop, 2 for loop for creating diff matrix, right? So that is a simple brute force approach, but the challenge there is for calculating row how many ones we have and how many zeros we have. It could be possibly n cube time complexity, but we can actually solve this in n square times complexity, where n square is basically number of rows, which is m, let's say, and the number of column, which is, let's say, n. So that's going to be your m into n time complexity, correct? So but for that what we have to do is, the trick here is, if you know how many ones are there in the row, then you don't need to calculate zeros. So you can simply subtract the total number of rows from ones, and then that is something you expect as out. That is going to be number of zeros, right? For example, let's say in this row how many ones we have? We have 2. This row we have 2, and in this row also we have 1. So obviously if I have 2 rows, then definitely the one number of zeros will be 1, and in this case we have 2 ones, the number of zeros will be 1. So it is always going to be n minus, sorry, so it is 1 to m minus how much we have. So that is the reverse of that. Same way, how many ones for the columns, how many ones we have? 1, here we have 1, and here we have 3, correct? So in this case, zeros will be here 0, here will be 2, and here will be 2, right? So if we calculate number of ones and number of 0 for each and row, that should simplify our problem. Even if we just calculate number of ones and the number of ones for column, that should be enough for us, right? So let's solve this problem. Let's try to code it. I think it's quite simple. If you look at the code, probably you'll understand. So okay, so first what we need is a result matrix which will be written at the end. So I'm just going to use that one, and then result will be basically your, depends upon how many numbers, rows and columns I have. So let me create rows that is going to be length of grade, and then columns is going to be length of grade of 0. Then result matrix will be, so I'm going to initialize with the zeros initially so that I can update it later. Oops, no, this is rows, right? Now I said I need to calculate how many ones we have. So I need to calculate two things, ones and then ones in a column. Say I call it ones. So I initialize with 0, that is into number of rows, and then this is number of columns. So this becomes 0. Now I have to populate this one. So for that I can just simply iterate for each row and each column to calculate this one. So ones rows, make sure I don't make any mistakes, some silly mistakes, is going to be grade of, because if you add 0 then it becomes 0 automatically. So, and then same thing we do for ones column. Then we are change to the column, otherwise it will be just rows. Now okay, now we have got this particular ones and rows, so this particular matrix here, so, and this particular row. Now we just need to prepare our final result table, result matrix, which is a diff matrix, right? Again, then I have to iterate range of rows. Again, maybe use R, simple for row, for C in range of column. Okay, and then we have to populate your result, right? So this is going to be, what is this going to be? So first I need to know how many we have in a row, right? So that is going to be one thing. Second thing, we have to have how many ones we have in a columns, right? Now we have to subtract zeros, but we don't know the zeros count, right? So that is going to be rows minus, so let's say we have 3 rows and only one, based on what we got here. So if I do see this here, right, this is the first row, we have 3 columns and only the number of ones are 2, so that is going to be 3 minus 2 is actually 1, so that is number of zeros. Same thing we will do for columns minus same columns. Let's see. I think that's it pretty much. You can simplify this formula also. You can make it like twice into one rows and twice into this column, but this is overall logic. I think that should not make much difference. Hopefully I didn't make any spelling and simple silly mistake. Let's try to run it. Okay, that goes well. If you submit, hopefully it should run fine. Okay, so this is accepted. uh, Thank you for watching this video. Hope you like it. See you in the next video.